Hello YouTube. Point Nemo is officially known as the oceanic pole of inaccessibility, or more simply put, the point in the ocean that is farthest away from land. As you might guess, it was named after the famous captain from the novel by Jules Verne. Scientists call this place Point Nemo. By and large, this is not a point, but a rather vast area. It's 37 million square kilometers, the perfect place to hide a spaceship, or a few other things. It was there under the thick waters of the Pacific Ocean that the spaceships that plied the near-Earth outer space found their last refuge. This is in the South Pacific Ocean, and Point Nemo is the most remote geographical coordinate of the world ocean, not only from the inhabited places of the Earth, but also from the land in principle. It's over 2.6 thousand kilometers to each of the nearest two islands, Mayher and Motunui, and also to the Ducie Atoll. All these 3 points above the ocean surface of the Earth are uninhabited. This place in the South Pacific Ocean, it's unlike anything else on our planet. When the famous and incredibly huge Soviet Mir space station, which had been operating in the USSR since 1906, when it fell into the waters of the ocean in 2001, the spaceship junkyard became its last refuge. The parting ceremony did not go gracefully. Initially, the spaceship weighed 143 tons, but only 20 tons reached the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. And what was left was broken into about 6 parts. Most of the dead spacecraft down there are from Russia. About 200 units of galactic debris lying on the ocean floor. The next major guest of the Point Nemo will be the International Space Station. It is planned that it would be buried there in 2028. In order not to cause unnecessary concern to the marine inhabitants, they will try to divide this colossus in parts. What else is down there at a depth of thousands of kilometers? Well, scientists say that there are many spy satellites, fuel tanks, and hundreds of cargo spacecraft. It seems that there is a place for everyone there. According to experts, at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, in the area of the pole of inaccessibility, there are now from 100 to 250 skeletons of these objects that basically found their last shelter in that area since the mid-1970s. The oceanic point of inaccessibility is a place where basically the miracle of space travel collides with the harsh reality. The craft of terrestrial space explorers must go home. The only thing is that the bottom of the ocean is very similar to the environment that they have to leave. Space stations, satellites that have become twisted pieces of metal are plunging into the cold abyss of another cosmos. Yes, Point Nemo is by default used by many world space agencies as the area of flooding of obsolete spacecraft and their remains. Its geographical location, great distance from human habitats, are very convenient in terms of environmental safety of such disposal. Also keep in mind, not too many eyes are open to see what else is going on there. American professor Alice Gorman from the Flinders University, specializing in space archaeology, examines the remains of fallen aircraft from the point of view of their impact on the environment and interaction with it. She believes that some of the remnants of the Mir space station that did not burn in the atmosphere fell on the beaches of numerous Fiji islands, and the rest sank in the ocean. But this fantastic starship graveyard or dump is surprisingly practical. After all, everyone knows that what has soared up must certainly fall down. So the force of gravity guarantees that everything that has come in the sky will go home sooner or later. And it doesn't matter whether people like it or not. Therefore, scientists have developed a similar plan for the disposal of dead spacecraft as far as possible from human habitats. The burial is carried out with all the necessary precautions, we are told, having previously carried out a whole system of calculations. Calculations are made with the utmost care, but not everything can always be considered. And yet, there the spacecraft can be in relative safety without disturbing anyone, so the scientists think, or at least they tell us. Nevertheless, it is time for mankind to think that everything in the world is limited. There will come times when there will be no place left here either, okay? Or we will be reminded that whoever is down there doesn't want all this trash falling on them. Decades before the Point Nemo was named and before the satellites began to crumble, Howard Phillips Lovecraft, American writer and journalist who worked in the genre of the horror story, he used these lonely waters as a place for his creations. He was the author of mystical works that are even singled out by literary critics as an independent subgenre of Lovecraft's horrors. It is noteworthy that Lovecraft placed his lost city just 205 miles, or 330 kilometers, from Point Nemo. The general area plays a major role in the 1928 short story The Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft, as holding the location of the fictional city of rurcla. Although this story was written 66 years before the official discovery of Point Nemo, it is strange that the writer has indicated to the nearest degree, basically the place where the monster from his novel lives, describing geographical coordinates of a sunken island, city where fictional terrible events take place, gives data on latitude and longitude very close to the real mystical Point Nemo. August William Derleth, one of the creators of the Cthulhu myths, also placed it in this general area. Derleth coined the term Cthulhu myths to describe the fictional universe depicted in a series of stories shared by Lovecraft and other writers of this genre. Another author of science fiction novels, Jules Verne, also showed action in this area, so to say. It was here that the unsociable Captain Nemo liked to live. Did the authors of these novels know about this Point Nemo even before the 1992 calculations? And we'll get to that. It is obvious that both Lovecraft and Verne were looking for the most remote place from land, but without the use of modern satellites and computers. Well, in 1992, a Croatian Canadian engineer and researcher Rvoje Lucatello decided to determine the most remote and inaccessible point of the globe for mankind. According to his calculations, it turned out to be 48 degrees 52 minutes south latitude and 122 degrees 23 minutes west longitude. Pretty close to the Cthulhu layer, but the engineer turned out to be a fan of another writer, of Jules Verne, so he decided to call this place Point Nemo. Lucatello calculated that the Point Nemo is closer to people in space than people on Earth. 400 kilometers to the space station. Excuse me. To the orbit of the inhabited International Space Station, ISS, and almost 7 times more to the inhabited island, the Easter Island that belongs to Chile. According to the BBC, since the Earth is round, the most distant part of the ocean will be in the middle of the circle. That is, it is defined by at least 3 points. According to Lucatella's calculations, Point Nemo is located at a distance of 1,670 miles, or 1455 nautical miles, 2,688 kilometers, from these 3 land masses. In the north, the island or atoll of Ducie, part of the famous Pitcairn Islands. It's a tiny uninhabited atoll with no fresh water. To the northeast is the Motunui, the largest of the 3 islands south of Easter Island, tiny islands. This is the westernmost tip of Chile. To the south is the snow-covered island of Maher, near the larger island of Saiple. Near Mary Baird Land, part of Antarctica, the circle created in this way, with the Nemo Point in its center, covers an area of 8,650,778 square miles, 22,405,411 square kilometers. This is slightly larger than the area of the former Soviet Union, the largest country in modern history. The area is so remote that, as with any location more than 400 kilometers, about 250 miles, from inhabited area, sometimes the closest human beings are astronauts aboard the ISS when they pass overhead, each time out of 15 daily orbits around the globe. But is this so? Look, in this regard, it is interesting to recall that next to Easter Island, there is this tiny island of Motunui. It is a few hundred meters of a steep cliff, cut by numerous grottos. A stone platform has been preserved on it, on which there was a mine used to stay. And I think the tsunami or people kind of placed it there. How could people build an ahu with a moai where we cannot even go by boat? Where it is impossible to climb up the cliff? What kind of mass brought these multi-ton giants there? There are only 2 possible answers. Well, either the giant moai were made on the island of Motunui itself, or in full accordance with the legend, Easter Island used to be a very large land. In addition, with several islands, it is the closest to the Point Nemo, the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. Look, Motunui is known as the westernmost point of Chile. Another well-known fact on the island of Motunui before the adoption of Christianity, it was considered a sacred place in the cult of Tangata Manu, the birdman. The ritual of finding the first laid egg of the dark tern in the season was carried out on that island. Near Motunui, there are two other rocky islands, Motu Iti and Motu Kau, inhabited by seabirds. Until the second half of the 19th century, Motu Iti was a source of obsidian for the Rapa Nui people when they were making tools, and a place for the animal collection of bird eggs. But now for the most interesting fact. I have a video, and the link to it is in the description to this video. Underwater Mysteries of Easter Island is the title. It's about a secret Soviet submarine mission and a fascinating encounter they had with a USO in their area, and the Russian information about the Easter Island and the surrounding area. Please see it. I will not repeat the story here, but trust me, you will like it. I found the obscure information while doing ongoing research about the mysterious underwater unidentified objects. Also, in 1997, the American National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, I believe it's abbreviated, well, they reported that in the area of Point Nemo, its experts recorded a mysterious noise, ultra-low frequency sound coming from the depths of the Point Nemo, a sound that later became known as bloop. International media immediately picked up and replicated this sensation. According to the BBC, that noise was even more piercing than the infrasound voice signal of a blue whale. However, after conducting more detailed research, NOAA gave a very simple explanation for this mysterious phenomenon. It was the sound of cracking and breaking ocean ice, generating powerful low-frequency sounds. It is possible, however, that the bloop comes from a giant yet unknown underwater animal. Well, it is assumed that Point Nemo is so far away that it is doubtful that anyone else has consciously visited it. The participant of the Volvo Ocean Race in 2015, which runs from Auckland, New Zealand to Itajaí, Brazil, they came closer than most of the other humans. It was noted that the ISS passes closest to the Nemo point already. This is hard to grasp, especially when you consider that Point Nemo is not only remote and inhospitable, but also gloomy to the extreme. Perhaps Cthulhu has finally stirred because of those spells of the writers who knew something about mysteries down below. Look, Howard Lovecraft by chance placed his rurcla city at approximately the same coordinates. We already said it. And the fact that Lovecraft first wrote about his sea monster in 1928, 66 years before Lucatella calculated the exact location of Point Nemo. This led some people to speculate that the pole of inaccessibility was in fact home to yet undiscovered creature of some sorts. Will the creature wake up, awakened by another fallen space probe? It is quite possible. Or could the creature have been already awakened by that continuous stream of cosmic fragments falling on his monstrous head? Here's what I believe, based on years of research. Major global powers will not leave such an area unattended. It's possible that their submarines have been visiting the area. Pacific Ocean's history of UFO sightings and proximity of Antarctica, enough to keep them interested, mesmerized. In my book, co-authored with Philip Mantel, Russia's USO Secrets, we present information about Soviet naval intelligence reports of strange UFOs sighted in the Pacific, about Antarctica, and much more. But we focus on Soviet and Russian sources. It would be great if the Australians, the Americans, and the Chinese Navy too would open up about their encounters with UFOs and USOs in the remote Pacific areas and in the vicinity of Point Nemo. I'm not holding my breath, but you know what? You never know what can happen. There are vast territories out there, unexplored, in the world oceans, and Philip and I, we tried to do our best, and what we found, I mean, it's fascinating and mind-boggling. So I will continue my research, of course, and I'll bring you more information about such remote oceanic areas and what hides into them to the extent possible. If you like my research, please support it. You will find links in the description to this video. I would appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel and of course tell others. I'd like to get more viewers because I want to bring more interesting stories, tales, reports, accounts about paranormal phenomena of Eurasia. But not only Eurasia. So thank you.